some of y'all are wild. The amount of times I've already run into players that just are free-balling it, queuing into hard stratagems with single-digit levels, no prestige, no team perks, no swag, no experience is wild. Oh, wow. No swag. Okay, I guess we have another metric to worry about when we jump into hard mode. Now, I have seen this as well. I honestly haven't seen this as much as I've seen the hard mode for Siege be in this situation, as far as, you know, underleveled, no team perk players joining it. However, I have seen players who are like Prestige 2, level 12, jumping into like hard mode Vortex, and those moments are kind of wild, because ultimately what ends up happening is, even if you're underleveled and you have like a couple prestige perks, seriously, hard mode stratagems do not play around. Like, at least with hard siege mode, there's a point where it gets too difficult. However, you can still play through hard siege mode at least for 10 waves at least, if you're like level 12, prestige 3, something like that, you know what I mean? However, for hard mode and for stratagems, it just starts at the highest difficulty right out from the gate. As in, there is no build-up. There is no waves 1 through 5, and then waves 11 is when it actually becomes hard. What happens is you spawn in, and it's already hard. Like, seriously, stratagems, I'm actually super happy with. However, I can understand why people are frustrated with some of the conditions. But overall, I'm very much enjoying stratagems. In fact, even when this patch came out, I was even telling myself, hey man, do Vortex Absolute, do Vortex Absolute. And instead, I'm just doing Vortex hard mode. Hard mode stratagems, dude, it's so much more fun. I do think it's pretty punishing, however. So, the thing is, though, I do have Prestige 4, level 25 characters who are ready to go. We do have a fair amount of good tools that they just added into the game. And not to mention, considering the patch 9, readjustment for the balance overall for all the weapons, there are a lot of good weapons to try out. So, when it comes to hard mode stratagems, take your time, please, guys. Do not jump from normal. Like, honestly, you should clear out all the normal stratagems you can, and then jump into hard mode stratagems. Like, the weekly stratagem is going to be there for a week. So, honestly, if you are struggling with patch 10, just get some practice in with the normal stratagems. Once you get to level 25, if you're Prestige 2, Prestige 3, whatever, jump into a hard stratagem and see how you do. If you absolutely need that 4th prestige perk, still take your time. You're better off for it. It's not going to be fun if you jump into hard stratagems not prepared. Like, seriously, I've had to use pretty much every tool within a class kit to just adjust in a positive way to the conditions. So, like, for example, there is there is a funny hard mode stratagem that was yesterday's daily for Vortex, where it actually doubled your ammo. So that was interesting. You can find positive conditions. So honestly, having the requirements to actually take advantage of those positive conditions is a huge point to push hard stratagem, at least in my opinion. Now, I respect it personally. I don't rage over it. I get a silly little smile on my face whenever I see a new player, because then I do my little voice acting thing, and we get super immersed. But I think there definitely needs to be a certain level plus prestige threshold required in order to hop into these extra difficulty missions, not only for stratagems, but for Siege too. Oh yeah, we talked about Siege. Anything that requires genuine coherency and commitment. Lock the newer players out of these harder sections of the game so they can go experience the rest of the game first. I agree. Which they'll have more fun doing so. I also agree. Properly organically discovering everything before getting thrown into the fighting pits off the rip. Yes, definitely agree with that. I would say, honestly, hard mode stratagems definitely should have been level locked. That is a huge mistake from the devs. That's probably, in my opinion, the largest mistake for patch 10. However, ultimately, patch 10 is the best patch we've ever had for the game. And it also just lets people like me who genuinely want the smoke have an easier time finding people who are also looking for and experienced enough for the hard mode stratagem. But most importantly, it shields them from players that would actually scream at them for queuing harder missions, potentially turning them off from Space Marine 2. I swear, some of you Swear, some of you guys play like you have actual butcher's nails. Calm down. Okay. Dude, I mean, I imagine there's a lot of moments where people were just sweating, you know, these hard mode stratagems, and if something goes wrong, yeah, it's pretty frustrating. I've had moments like that, but instead of freaking out or even getting toxic or telling somebody what to do or anything like that, sometimes I just find a new game. Like, I just find a new team, whatever. But still, you have to consider even the L's for hard stratagems. You're still getting used to that difficulty, so if you are fully leveled and prepared for hard stratagems, don't get disappointed that you're not completing it within the first couple tries. For me, for the hard mode weekly, it took me about 3 tries, and that try, if you saw the video before this one, or 2 videos before this one, it was sweaty. It was rough, man. It was rough, because, like, seriously, when it comes to weekly stratagems, I think the devs are trying to make that into the hardest content in the game, or at the very least, the hardest operation. I know, like, siege mode level, like siege mode wave 30, siege mode wave 25, whatever, is probably still going to be harder than weekly stratagems, at least for most cases. But we're still going to be able to get a combination of conditions that just aren't very friendly and probably turn off a lot of players. So, yes, when it comes to hard mode stratagems, at the very least, make sure you have all the tools necessary to circumvent some of these issues. There's a condition that your health bar gets reduced by 75%. So the way I'm going to try to circumvent that with Bulwark is to use Rapid Regeneration and Glory Shield. So, okay, fine, our health is lower, Invigorating Icon might not be as good, but now we have faster healing on the armor, and it actually stays around a little bit more, not to mention we will also have damage resistance from Glory Shield. See what I mean? This is why it's very helpful to have all of the perks necessary so you can mix and match what you need for, you know, the hard mode stratagems. Like, seriously, I saw snipers playing in Shadow of the Warp. That's not good. That's not good. I have seen them point out that it was silly to pick a sniper, but still, if you read the conditions, you would notice, hey man, this bolt sniper is not going to do very good. The LF hipfire is probably pretty good for Shadow of the Warp. My tactical, 600 hours played, 300 only with tactical, okay, got my butt handed over a very disrespectful way 3 times in a row. I'm doing lethals for leisure, absolutes for keeping my senses sharp, and got hard siege beyond 20. That's pretty good. Still went down like a newbie right before camp when Neurothrope, several lictors, Bivor, and that invulnerable lictor, Hunter, happened at once. Alright, so several lictors, Bivor, so, okay, let me get this straight. You had a 3 extremist spawn with the Neurothrope, and then also had the Hunter. Yeah, that's, I mean, dude, it's really hard to point out, to be completely honest, it's really hard to point out the comparison between hard siege mode and hard stratagems. What makes this situation a bit more difficult is the fact that you can only see 30 meters in front of you, and it's really like more like 15. But still, regardless, yeah, you don't have that condition in hard siege mode. At least in hard siege mode, you still would probably have more Biovores to deal with, but at least in hard siege mode, you still have ammo boxes, you still have guardsmen, bots. You know, you can get grenades back whenever you want. So, and stims. There are a lot of circumstances in hard siege mode where you do have quite a bit of support. So I think overall, when it comes to hard stratagems and hard siege mode, it's still much more doable. Hard siege mode is still much more doable underleveled. But with hard mode stratagems, there are going to be conditions where if you don't have a certain perk for it, you're just going to be straight up leveled out of that situation. Like, you're straight up, you don't have the tools necessary to complete this. Like, for real, like, that's what hard mode stratagems, I think, are supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to have, like, a specific way to get around the tough parts of the condition. For example, when I was playing heavy, and if you roll, you get damage, well, just play heavy. Yeah, put up your shield. If you do end up taking a unblockable attack or something, maybe use strategic stand or something to get your contested health back quicker. But yeah, see, that's my point. Like, if you can't roll, well, pick heavy and stand still. That is a pretty funny way to look at it. Absolutely needs to be a threshold requirement for the hard difficulty stratagem weekly, which should be renamed to absolute difficulty, not hard. I have seen some people say rename it because hard mode doesn't do it justice, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, I think if somebody's well, it says hard mode, it doesn't say Angel of Death difficulty. Maybe it's not as hard as I think. Yeah, I mean, that's just pretty flawed way of thinking. I don't think the devs need to cater to that. Half of the problem is people seeing hard and go, oh, I can clear hard difficulty operations, no problem. This will be a piece of cake. You see, no, actually, okay, that's a fair point because there technically isn't a hard difficulty label for operations. So I guess they just assume hard mode is like ruthless, when in reality it's closer to absolute. Yeah, honestly, okay, fine. It should say absolute difficulty, but I guess the devs just don't want to confuse people, I guess. You know what, still though, hard siege mode definitely is difficult. Hard stratagems is much more difficult, but they still have the same hard mode label. I guess it depends, but okay, fair. That's neither here or there, that is semantics, I guess. Only to get beat up on all mission by the Tyranids and waste 25 to 30 minutes for the rest of us, not a good experience. Yeah, that's true. Seriously, these hard mode stratagems can take it a little bit. Like, if it took you 20 minutes to get through, like, Vox Liberatus or something, the hard mode variant of that is going to take 30 to 35 minutes, probably. Something like that. I never understood why people do this. When I play a new game, I will play the lowest normal difficulty first, get a hang of the game, level up my gear, and then proceed to play higher difficulties. I think there's a lot of returning players who thought since they cleared lethal, they were capable for hard stratagems. I think that's honestly the case, because you do see some players who are just like level 18, like prestige nothing, but they have like relic weapons, which is okay, but that's not that's not good enough for hard stratagems. It's just not. If you didn't play the game for a whole year since a launch, it's kind of silly to jump back into it and expect that you should just be ready to go for the hardest difficulty in the game. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you took a year off of the game. You can't come back and just expect your old build to also kind of punch up into what they have in store for the game now, because we went through so many buffs. We went through a lot of balance changes. So what you were playing, what you were playing out at launch, it's just not the same scale anymore. Like, there's prestige perks in general. Obviously, the game is going to get harder. What enjoyment do you get out of launching the highest difficulty mission without even understanding the game? You have no equipment, so you'll be dealing nothing damage. You're handicapped. You're handicapping your team, and you will likely keep going down, making you hog all the stims, which in turn handicaps your team further. Yeah, not to mention they waste. They will hog the stims and waste them as well. But yeah, that's what happens with returning players. It's like, oh man, I am struggling. I've been in this operation for 5 minutes. I already have a mortal wound. Let's pick up the stim. Okay, let's use it. Okay, I'm dead. That's pretty much how it works. That's pretty much how it works when it comes to hard mode stratagems. Definitely don't jump into hard mode stratagems thinking you can just get carried. See, in siege mode at the very least, you would see players underleveled without a team perk, but they're leaving at wave 5, which still is kind of annoying, but still, they can just leave at wave 5. There's nothing like that in hard mode stratagems. If you jump into hard mode stratagems, you're in it until the end, and you're going to be pushing a boulder up a hill the entire time. So I guess at the very least, I hope you guys haven't ran into too many low levels in hard stratagems. Actually, for me, I definitely ran into more low levels in hard siege mode than I did with hard stratagems. However, I have noticed some people who were just a little bit underleveled, but would have like a handful of prestige perks. Man, you don't know it, but you do need that level 22 perk, and you just don't have it yet. But when you do have it, then you can jump into hard stratagems, right? So that's pretty much how it works for some of these classes. But for the most part, if you understand the operation, that can definitely get you 90% of the way there. But basically, hard stratagems love to throw a wrench into your plans. Also, I've noticed something weird. Whenever somebody gets isolated from the team, I feel like chaos spawns in Vortex, the game will seriously spam spawns at that person specifically, the isolated player. So play around your teammates, guys. Play around your teammates. At least that's what I've noticed in Vortex. Something very suspicious was whenever a team member was isolated, they've got the worst spawns. Like, sometimes in Vortex, they will spawn in, like, 1 rubric. For whatever reason, if you're by yourself, they will spawn in 2 chaos spawns and a whole handful of guardsmen. You know what I mean? The sniper chaos guardsmen guys. Yeah, regardless, hard stratagems can definitely be pretty difficult. It is probably the hardest content in the game. Probably. If you don't consider, like, Wave 50 hard siege mode. You know what I mean? If you compare stratagems to Waves 1 through 15 hard siege mode, I think it's pretty comparable. But the stratagems, the conditions can definitely become more difficult to deal with as you are going on the operation. So I guess it really depends. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys been seeing a lot of low levels and hard stratagems. Do you think the devs should level lock hard stratagems, or at the very least level lock hard weeklies, which I do think they should do? It's honestly not that big of a deal. Like, the amount of experience you can get from this game, it's really not the worst grind. I'm honestly playing this game. This is how you know the patch is good. When I'm, like, recording and getting all my videos done, sometimes I like to sit down and play a different game just to kind of unwind. Well, when I sit down and play my casual game for the day, I'm just jumping into minimal on console, and I'm just leveling up the Pyro Cannon on tactical just for fun. Like, it is so much fun, man. It is so much fun. I'm not doing anything sweaty. I'm just playing the game. That's how you know the patch is good. When on off time, I'm still playing the game that that I make videos for, which is great. Normally, I you know, take a couple hours, or at the very least, like, a couple hours. Probably more than that. And then outside of that, it's pretty much off time. That's how I consider that. But yeah, regardless, let me know in the comments how you guys have been dealing with hard mode stratagems. Have you been running into underleveled players? And how much have you been enjoying hard mode stratagems? I know a lot of you guys in the comments yesterday had a lot to say about it, so I figured we would basically revisit the subject and just kind of point out that, hey, if you're a little bit underleveled, you're definitely underestimating how hard mode stratagems are supposed to be. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Thanks for watching.